G'day, ZiggyD here, and today I want to give you guys an update on my Searing Bond Fire Trap Templar in Path of Exile's patch 1.0.2. I've been pretty excited for this DoT scaling patch. It was announced before the release of patch 1.0.0, but due to some balancing issues, it's been pushed back a few times. But now with patch 1.0.2, we finally have it. Now, I made this character because a lot of you guys are new to my channel and probably have never even seen this build, but I made this guy right when the Searing Bond skill came out. Now, Searing Bond has pretty much always considered to be, by most people, to be pretty rubbish. And when I made it, it was pretty rubbish. But it was buffed a couple months after it was released, and it has since been buffed again in this patch. So I think this character is now starting to show a lot of potential. But it's always been a really fun build, and one that I've always had it's always had a bit of a special place in my heart as just an extremely different way of playing Path of Exile, and incredibly fun to level as well. So the character that I'm on now is my old ZiggyD Paralysis Searing Bond character. He's level 72, and features pretty rubbish gear, pretty trash. Like my resist at the moment in Merciless are 30, 49, and 32%. So pretty bad. But still having a lot of fun with it, and if I work on this a bit more, I think I'll be able to get it in terms of survivability. But now, what we're mostly looking at is how the damage actually scales now. How viable is Searing Bond and Fire Trap? Well, I'll try and put up some background footage of you guys just running a 66 map. Now, all these guys in here were fire resistant, and it seems to be going alright. I've done a bit of testing through Lunaris, I've done a few 66 maps, and I've done some docks and stuff like that, and it seems to be going pretty well now. There's still a lot more I can do in this build to scale things, but I think it's starting to show some potential, and Searing Bond itself is starting to do pretty good damage as well. So let's take a look at what I've changed in the build, how I've set things out, and we'll talk about the skills. So jumping back over, let's go find some skellies. Obviously, the first main skill we're using in this build is Searing Bond, so let's go ahead and we'll double curse these guys. We're using Elemental Weakness and Flammability, and we'll throw our Searing Bond down there, and you know, it melts guys pretty quickly. What happens with Searing Bond is that each beam can overlap itself, so we can actually get this skeleton is currently being hit by 2 beams, and he takes twice as much damage there. Now, the listed damage here is 1300, but this scales with burn damage nodes, and that isn't set on the actual tooltip there. Now, we can actually stack up 3 beams, so let's kill off these guys here. Let's try and see if we can keep this rare alive. He might actually die in my Fire Trap, unfortunately. Well, I suppose we'll talk about Fire Trap while he dies in that then. What I wanted to do with this build is scale pure burn dots. So a lot of people, when making burning damage builds with Fire Trap, would stack a lot of crit chance. They'd have the initial burst of Fire Trap deal the damage and ignite enemies that way, and the ground dot was kind of just ignored. But in this one, because I wanted to scale Searing Bond as well, we focused on pure burning damage. So I got pure burning damage nodes, I'm using the Searing Touch, which gives increased burning damage, and I'm just getting all of my damage pretty much from the ground effect and Searing Bond. And both of these things stack together. Searing Bond stacks with itself, the burning ground effect stacks, and I also sometimes use zombies with Minion instability, which explodes in fire damage and also ignites enemies, giving a third type of burning damage, all stacking up at once. So it ends up being pretty effective, and a lot of just a really fun way of playing as well. So exploiting stuff with Fire Trap's pretty fun, as you'll see, and just seeing the health like really quickly melt away like that is pretty fun. I know I'm in Fell Shrine here, but this still works pretty well. So the way I fight rares is I stack up my 2 beams on top of each other. We just create a little tiny triangle, and just have 3 beams hitting the rare all at once, and they take 3 times the amount of damage from Searing Bond. You can also throw a Fire Trap down there and that sort of thing as well, and do the dual cursing as well to kill something. Let's see if we can actually go find a golem. Now, the other skill you'll see on my toolbar here is Frost Wall. We use that against dangerous enemies, also to hold them in Searing Bonds. Let's go ahead and blow up these guys, because this will be fun. You see one of my zombies blew up and actually almost got their life down to half. The zombies do deal pretty serious damage, and I don't quite have them fully linked up yet. I currently have the zombies linked up to Ray Zombie Minion Life, which increases their explosion damage and their survivability as well. And only reduce mana at the moment because I'm having some mana issues, but nothing major there. I want to link them to Chance to Ignite and Elemental Proliferation eventually, or maybe even Concentrated Effect, something like that. But yeah, this character's, like, as I said, pretty terribly geared. I'm only using a 4-link Searing Touch here, and it's not an amazing one by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, like, it's very easy build to make because it's very cheap on supports and things like that. Like, I don't need a 5 link to make this do somewhat okay damage. Like, the only one that's linked to Searing Bond, the core skill of the build, is increased burning damage. In fact, it's the only support that really makes a difference to the damage of Searing Bond. You can link like Minion and Totem Life and things like that to it, but that's the only one that actually affects the damage. So I've got that linked up. Now, the other reason we're using Searing Touch is because it gives +2 levels, and Searing Bond and Fire Trap all scale very well from levels. So my 4 link, my offensive setup here is Fire Trap, increased burning damage, Fire Penetration, and Searing Bond. So you can get away with pretty, you know, without having any 5 links or anything in this, and it's still pretty fun. And the reason this like plays super differently is because using Searing Bond is different from using any other totem. Instead of like throwing your totems down, just kind of having them shoot, you actually have to like control your positioning. So you kind of end up getting this Spider-Man thing happening, which I'll show here. Let's come down this way, and do some Spider-Man action. So we basically sling our web, and then we sling our web forwards, and we kind of just keep web slinging our way through the levels. And it's pretty hilarious, but we can then just like stack up our double curses, throw down our fire traps on the big packs, and I don't know, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I wanted to give you guys an update because I wanted this build to get a little bit more love now that this patch has come out and we've changed the way we can scale our burning damage. But I'll head back to town, and I'll show off the passive tree that I've kind of got going for this now, and maybe some of my plans for the future. So starting as Templar, Templar's in the best position to take advantage of most of the things we want in this build, and he's the closest to all like the good burn damage and things like that. We come out through and get Amplify. I consider going through Celestial Walker because spell damage, elemental damage does scale Fire Trap now, and it should be scaling Searing Bond too based on the patch notes, which is pretty exciting. But I just went with Amplify because that helps out the Fire Traps and also with the cursing as well, which is pretty nice. Just through the normal Templar nodes, extra life and survivability. We are a dual totem build, as you can see. Fire Trap does deal its damage from the trap itself, so we can still deal damage with Fire Trap and use our dual Searing Bonds. Dual Searing Bonds really is necessary to make Searing Bond useful. I think a single Searing Bond totem is kind of useless, so it's a must-have as an Ancestral Bond build, and you could potentially even use the chest armor to give you a 3rd Searing Bond totem as well, which I think would be a lot of fun and pretty successful too. I think it would work pretty well. Getting some mana reservation nodes and aura nodes and things like that. I am an Eldritch Battery build with here. You can see I've got Eldritch Battery, and we're not fully taking advantage of that. I need much better gear before I can stack Discipline and get some more regen and things like that. But I am trying to run Arctic Armor, only level 7 at the moment, but it helps a little bit. Eventually I'd like to do the same thing as with my EK Sign, where I can max out Arctic Armor and use Eldritch Battery and things like that. I don't know if we'll ever get Mind Over Matter in this build, but it is an option. We could come down here and get Iron Reflexes and Mind Over Matter. But the core of the build is, in terms of damage scaling, we scale it primarily through these burning damage nodes before. These are the ones we got before to scale it, and these burning damage nodes as well. But this has changed. We can now benefit from fire damage that actually affects the burning now as well. So we can grab this fire damage nodes here, we can grab this fire damage nodes, and we can grab any like extra elemental damage we want as well. So we could come down here and get Elemental Dominion, which would probably be pretty good to get as well. Now you notice I'm also running dual curse, so Whispers of Doom, Hexmaster, and that's because I use the combination of Flammability and Elemental Weakness. Flammability gives us some ignite chance, but that's not a big deal. Mostly it's about reducing their fire resistance, which increases the amount of burning damage they take from both Searing Bond and Fire Trap, and also Minion Instability, which you can see we have up there. Now another curse you can use is Vulnerability if you want to go Tri-Curse, or you can use Vulnerability instead of Elemental Weakness if you're solo. With a party you want to run Elemental Weakness because more people benefit from that than they do from Vulnerability, but Vulnerability scales dot damage pretty well, so it's nice to get there. What else do we get? We get some of the new totem nodes now. This is pretty good. We've got our totem damage, which affects Searing Bond, so pretty good stuff. And some tankiness, because Searing Bond totems tend to be on top of the mobs that we're fighting, so it's nice to get them some extra tankiness. I'll probably consider getting the Ironwood cluster here. This is a pretty good cluster of totem nodes, and I will definitely come down and get the Shamanistic Fury cluster here because it's a nice big increase to damage as well, and maybe we'll eventually get Inner Force as well. And we come down and get through probably one of the most important nodes here for Searing Bond, the increased totem range. This increases the length of beam that you can have on Searing Bond, so you can kind of just off screen with it, which makes it much easier to use because you can throw them in through doorways into rooms and have them like the mobs kind of cluster around it and die while you stay safely outside of the room, just kind of looking through the doorway with this beam connecting you to the totem, and it works out pretty well. But my other plans, yeah, just to probably just duck in, get these totem nodes, get the extra totem nodes, maybe duck up and get a bit of regen here, probably come down and get Deep Thoughts to help myself support my Eldritch Battery a bit more successfully, and probably also get the Templar cluster here so I have a bit more armor, energy shield, and some more resistant things like that. And as I said, we could also come down and get Iron Reflex as my Nova Matter. I might rough out a build plan. Actually, I might just give you my current build, and you guys can maybe take this as inspiration. This is not a firm and solid and fully tested build guide like my EK Sign. This is just something fun I've been putting together and wanted to put together with the new patch. And maybe it inspires some of you guys to use Searing Bond. If I party up with some pugs and some of you guys are using Searing Bond, I'll be very happy. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.